What's up, everybody? Toysh is here, and I'm back yet again for another episode of What a Week. All the latest and greatest toy and pop culture news. A lot of Marvel Legend reveals, so I know a lot of people are going to be sticking around for that. But I'm very excited to announce that I have another special guest on with me, talking all things toys. Jesse Destasio from Toy Pizza, Knights of the Slice, all-around action figure connoisseur. Mr. Destasio, how are you today?
Hey, good to be here. What a pleasure.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for being on. Now, if you don't know, Jesse runs Action Figure of the Month Club, Knights of the Slice. Anything else that I'm missing? Anything shamelessly promote?
I have to give major props and credit to Nikki Fung, my partner at Pizza, because he actually is the guy doing the Instagram and the YouTube. I'm almost solely focused on the product aspect of things these days, and I'm very lucky that I have a partner who enjoys doing the social media end of it, because that is, as you know, a full-time job in and of itself. So.
Oh, most definitely. And Nikki is amazing. I got to hang out with you guys at Toy Fair this past year. We went and did some karaoke, which was a lot of fun.
That's right. We, whenever we meet somebody new, that's their test by fire. They have to come do karaoke with us.
Hey, I got up there, man. We were singing.
You did?
I went home hoarse that night. The meetings the next day at Toy Fair were bad. No.
That's why we're still, in communication. You passed the test.
Excellent. Well, I have to tell you that before Toy Shoes was ever even a thing, I used to watch you and Nikki on your YouTube channel. Oh, you guys talked about everything and anything, and now it's so cool that I get to actually talk to you, and we're friends and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, I think I look to you and I look to Toy Galaxy as people who really perfected what we were trying to work out with Toy Pizza, but we just sort of missed the boat on. I sort of feel like if we had been 3 years earlier or maybe a year later, we would have been in a more sort of sustainable way of doing Toy Pizza. Mm-hmm. But we just sort of didn't hit the timing right. We kind of came in when you still made money off of YouTube, for small creators.
Yeah.
And when that went away, when they did the big algorithmic change and started favoring, basically corporate news sites who toss up 12 videos a day, and we're not being compensated at all. It was really hard to sort of spend 90% of our week on the platform. So I really, obviously we're huge fans of what you do. I really like Dan and Toy Galaxy as well. And I think you guys have just totally crystallized and made good on this little idea that I think all of us were collectively kind of chipping away at.
Well, yeah, Dan, he, and again, he's another guy I get to meet finally at Toy Fair this year. But what he does with just informing the public about he did like Operation Aliens, I think 2 weeks ago now. It's just really fun things that they're doing differently with all kinds of old toys, new toys. And plus, he's just an all-around great guy as it is. So
yeah, it's nice that they're, everybody's just pleasant people. Like it's, I've been in this industry for so long, I must be coming up on well past 15 years. I think I'm getting close to, 17 years, 18 years next year, I think.
Wow.
In the broader toy industry, there's a lot of really unpleasant people. And there's a lot of dinosaurs, and there's a lot, like the whole, the traditional mass market toy hustle is not a lot of fun, and there's not a lot of bright people, and there's not people that care about the actual product. Mm-hmm. A direct inverse to that is guys like you and hopefully Toy Pizza in that, one, I think this is like cutting edge stuff. This is actually interesting and meaningful. And two, just everybody's kind of nice to deal with, and we all are in this hobby for genuine reasons. It's great.
No, and even when I first started watching you guys' videos, you made it fun, and it was funny, and it was things that you'd point out little tidbits and hidden things here and there where I'd go like, oh yeah, like I knew about that. But it's fun to see other people in the know talking about those types of things. You know, you guys did like the best Spider-Man figures, and you know, just it was fun getting like knowing that there's other people out there that like to talk about toys as much as I do. Maybe not at that point just yet with the platform that I had, but it's fun to watch you guys. You guys have a nice banter back and forth. It's all around good times when we get together and talk and do all that good stuff. So hopefully that'll reflect here. We won't be boring the audience once it gets going. I could see people going like, okay, so toys today. No.
That's right. We gotta give the audience what they want.
Always, they're so demanding these days. I swear, it's just one of those things. But you gravitate again more towards the 3 3/4 inch, and you've done great things with your Action Figure of the Month Club. Are there any times where you do go more for the 5, 6, 7 inch scale? Your NECA toys, McFarlane, Hasbro's, things like that.
I would say selectively. I think over the past, well, since launching Knights of the Slice, we're coming up on the 5th year of it being sort of available to purchase. I really have honed in on 3 3/4 inch, which has always been my scale. You know, I was born in '80, so I had all my brothers hand me down Kenner Star Wars. I was the right time, right age for G.I. Joe. So 3 3/4 inch is always going to be where my heart is. That being said, lately I have really been completely, been under the siren's call of sort of Hasbro's, recent Black Series figures. Their Power Ranger line, which both the sort of value-based line and the, mega articulated line are fantastic. And then also NECA's sort of Kenner homages with, like I have in front of me, the Laser Shot Predator.
How great is that?
It's just fantastic. So I 90% of my focus is really 3 3/4 inch, but I also like that these companies are putting out product that is so good that somebody as strict as I am still has to dip their toe in. I have to get this and I have to sample this. Even McFarlane, who I think, you could argue have been hit or miss on some executions. I have this Doom Marine right here from McFarlane, and it's fantastic. I love it. So, I think it's a really
he's on my radar. That's one of the ones that I'm on the fence only because I wasn't a huge Doom player, but I can appreciate a good looking figure.
Sure.
And he looks great. It's just I haven't come across him yet, so I think that's really the only reason I picked him up. But
yeah, I think it's worth picking up, and I think overall, like, it's a wonderful time to be a collector, and there's so much enticing stuff going on. And I think also part of this is, I'm about the same age as Randy Falk at NECA, and we're both kind of like guys that came up in the industry around the same time. I think Randy was really like, I was a freshman when Randy was a junior in a lot of respects, but same pedigree of growing up in the Star Wars and G.I. Joe era, same consistent love of toys and collecting throughout our teen and adult years. And then finally, all these years later in the industry, we kind of get to be the tastemakers. And that's why we have wonderful stuff like this, this Kenner sort of subline from NECA. And, it's fantastic that the sort of old guard, have died off. And now this new class is kind of in charge. And I think it's for the better, really.
Oh yeah, and especially with talking about the NECA Kenner line, they are reinvigorating even the old-fashioned Kenner line with putting newer sculpted, like they have the Neomorph and then they have a new Predator that fits into the actual Kenner line, and it looks great.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that, and in truth, so just to give a little background info, but I think this is a semi-interesting story. We just did the Action Figure of the Month 2020 enrollment, and it was a fantastic campaign. And really, for avoiding third-party platforms like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, we managed to raise a lot of money, and we got to keep all that money. So it was great. But the basic premise for next year is these sort of beefy, stocky characters. This guy Radek, who just looks like he stepped out of a '80s arcade game. This sort of SWAT team looking guy, Hackerman, and they're all these big bulky guys. And the initial nugget of an idea for this was that sort of 5 to 6 inch Kenner style, random lines. And when I first saw that NECA was doing the Predator and the Exomorph, is that the
Neomorph, like the little white thing from the recent movie, whatever it was.
When I saw Randy was doing that, I instantly lost my nerve and could not have the confidence to sort of pursue the line as a 5.5 inch or 5 inch line, and I brought it back down to be in scale with 3 3/4 inch because what Randy's doing is so much better of a version than what I had in my head, and it sort of made my path all that much clearer. But originally, our sort of 2020 figures were going to be slightly larger and kind of go after that Kenner nostalgia in some respects.
That's awesome. That's really like a nice little Easter egg tidbit to hear. I think in seeing that, and I agree with you, I think that maybe, scaling it back down and being more incorporated with 3 3/4. I'd like to think, even with like the Jazwares Fortnite, their versions of the 3 3/4, 4-inch figures, I think that it's slowly happening, but I think the resurgence of those smaller type figures are gradually coming back. Maybe not to the extent of what they used to be,
sure,
but it's nice to see people kind of gravitating more towards that because you can do so many more things. You do the big play sets or vehicles and things like that.
Yeah, I do think we're definitely in a sort of golden resurgence for 3 3/4 inch, and really a lot of credit needs to go to Jazwares and their Fortnite line, and that's another example of the new class being in charge. Mike DeCamp, who I originally hired when I was at Jazwares, he was one of my hires, is the sort of part of the brain trust or one of the decision makers for that Fortnite line, and they have they've got really great people working on that line, and I know better than anybody the mistakes that Jazwares has made in the past. I used to deal with customer service complaints and things like that. And, their Fortnite line is near perfect. And in a lot of ways, it is our current G.I. Joe effort,
Yes, yeah, especially with every property that they kind of pull from, and you can see it. It's not exactly infringing, but it just reminds you, and you go, oh, okay, I used to like that, right? You know what I mean? It's very cool with what they're doing. And then the buildable aspects of it. I always like to say they're Legos mixed with G.I. Joe. And you have so many weapons. And I remember when they first started popping up, I remember you guys posting about it and talking about the weapons and the multi-packs and everything, how it can be incorporated with other 3 3/4 inch type figures, and just the overall stretch that you can use these figures with, and the setups that you can build. I'm looking over here at my shelf right now. Like it's enormous, and I know I'm still missing a builder set here and there, but they're fun. And it's when people come over, they talk. That's the first thing besides the Jurassic Park dinosaurs. They go, what's this mess about? I'm like, I don't play the game, but they're pretty interesting toys.
Well, I think gamers are really our most marginalized and subjugated people in the world, and they deserve the support of a good toy line, because the gamers are not our first responders, but they're up there. And when the skirmishes eventually become all digital, that's who we're going to turn to, So I just want to state my support for them now, so that when this eventual future war happens, I can be in good favor.
Yes, our robotic overlords coming soon. Hopefully they can protect us.
Speaking of 3 3/4 inch, I would be remiss if I did not mention that Yeti has posted a surprise figure today, a glow-in-the-dark Shakan.
Oh, okay.
I saw it went up this morning, and I ordered mine. It's on the way to me. And that's, been a great project to work on. And I really love the Yeti.com. And I think they're probably going to sell out pretty quickly.
Well, I'll post all the information up so that, watching this, people can understand and see. So I'll put the link below. But the Shakan Forever Man, I got to see that at SDCC. That is a great, well, first of all, Genesis game. And then, again, turning it into a figure and, seeing all the artwork and stuff because you introduced me initially to the creator. That I love seeing things like that and things like that happening even to this day, seeing old video games come back to life, and it's so much fun. There's so many good toys out.
Yeah, definitely. And you got to meet Robert, and he's such a gem. He's such a sort of like I feel like in the third act of a movie, he would be the mentor that finds the hero, all
right.
riverbed and trains him in the ways of martial arts to overcome, his challenge in the fourth act. But yeah, Robert's really great, and Shakan was one of those titles that kind of terrified me when I was a kid, and I was obsessed with it, even though it was, kind of shocking and scary. And
yeah.
I consider myself lucky, and our enterprise is lucky enough that we can kind of go after these things that make no financial sense for a bigger company or a mass market company, but because it's kind of something we love, and we believe we can kind of reach the people that also feel the same way, it becomes a success. And I'm really thankful for that. I think it's great.
And talking about the success, your project, the action figure of the month for 2020, you got 143% out the door. That's an amazing accomplishment. With the New York Comic Con figure that you did with Super 7, the little double pack right there. Yep. You guys are killing it. There's all kinds of stuff. There's something for everybody in every sense of the word.
I think so. I think when I embarked on this, I didn't want to just be selling figures or just be selling a single figure. And I think that's, for a lot of would-be toy creators, I think that's the end of their ambition, and there's nothing wrong with that. If it's a cost prohibitively expensive pursuit to be in. Some people just have one figure idea in their mind, and they need a little help. They want to get that done, and then they just want to put out, one version of that figure a couple times a year, and they're happy and content.
Yeah.
And I think that's excellent, and it's great, and if it gets more creative toy projects out there, all the better. For me, I always saw this as, I hate to use like lingo and stuff, but I always saw it as more of a brand than single sculpt or a single edition of a toy. I always thought we could build something off of all these things that we kind of love and grow it into something. And the Action Figure of the Month Club, this will be moving into the second year of it in 2020. We had a successful Kickstarter campaign in 2018 for this year. And, launching it independently and doing it ourselves was 1,000 times more work and harder, and, essentially grinding away every single day to end up with less people and overall less cash. But the fact that we were able to keep a larger portion of that cash, and it went directly to us and not to, other applications and things like that. And that people turned out. We didn't have a single $0 day. A lot of fundraising, you hit this sort of death valley where nothing's going on with the campaign. A lot of the action is at the front of the campaign and at the end.
Yeah.
We were super lucky that throughout the entire thing, people were supporting and sharing, and it was just it was a super hard but super rewarding experience, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'm happy with the the cadre of people that follow us.
Yeah. Well, me, I'm always happy to help because, like I said, I started watching you guys originally, and you were some of my go-to YouTube channels.
You were a big help early on. I think you posted on the first or second day, and that gave us a nice spike of people. So we do appreciate that.
Oh, of course, yeah, and it's nice because a lot of people do private message me. A lot of people say, "Oh, hey, what is this about, or what exactly?" And I'll say, "Hey, you know what? Definitely go check this out, and here's your website and all this." That way they get just a little better understanding. They may not know right out the bat. Oh, hey, what are you guys talking about? And they just need that extra little. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, always happy to help. But in terms of news this week, not a whole lot of 3 3/4. I know we discussed this earlier. I'm like, how do you feel about talking about other figures? But there were a number of conventions over last weekend. We had the Paris Comic-Con, we had London MCM, and we even have Luca coming up. But there were, talking about Power Rangers, there was Wave 3 of the Lightning Collection was revealed. Did you grow up with Power Rangers? Were you a big Power Ranger fan, or was it just kind of something, like, for me, it was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers only, and then, I know they did several other 1,000 iterations afterwards, but MMPR was definitely my go-to jam. So they got Red Ranger, and then they have a new villain that was kind of unveiled in Mighty Morphin Power Ranger Boom Comics, which is Lord Dracon, or Dracon, however you want to say it. But any interest in these at all in terms of Power Rangers?
So to answer your earlier question, I actually was just a little too old for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers when it came out. I was sort of I must have been 15 or 16, so I was just starting to get into drinking and girls and stealing cigarettes and being a juvenile delinquent. So I sort of missed it. I wasn't the right age to kind of embrace it. I had a little bit of sort of exposure to other earlier tokusatsu programming in the rare instances where I came across it. Stuff like Kamen Rider and all the Jetman and all those iterations.
Yes.
So I was sort of on the sidelines for the explosion in the U.S. of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but I would nod in agreement. Like, this is pretty great. I wish I was a little bit younger so I could totally so-call this up. But you're talking about what I think is one of my favorite lines of this past year. I'm definitely going to be picking up a few of these, the new ones that they announced at the show last week. And I picked up I want to say the Magna.
Oh, Magna Defender?
Magna Defender. Thank you.
Yes.
And
yeah, no problem.
I have to tell you, I think that is easily one of the best 6-inch figures of this year, if not the past several years. There is such a sweet spot that Hasbro is hitting with these things. And I like these more than SH Figure Arts or Figma or the more expensive Japanese portrayals of these characters, because they're solid. They stay together. They articulate well. They take a beating. They don't feel fragile. The sculpts aren't broken up and they're not hollow. It just really, it checks all the boxes for me.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about all the sort of forthcoming ones. I got to go track down Goldar. I know that I've seen on your site that he started to pop up.
Yeah, he is definitely. He was a limited sort of thing at GameStop. They put him out a little bit earlier, but now he's really starting to make his way. So he probably should be easy to. I know he's on the website. I don't know, because he is an exclusive. I'll say, yeah, I go to GameStop. GameStop's not my favorite store unless it's a hardcore solid exclusive. I try not to step foot into GameStop.
Well, in some respects, they're the only game in town. No.
Yeah.
But even, look, all of traditional retail is a very scary proposition. My vantage point. I think that we've just started to see the first of these store closures, and it's going to get even bloodier. I just don't. I don't see there being any way to compete with online, and going to a GameStop store is not a pleasurable experience. I don't think,
No, I've talked to a lot of people about this, and I appreciate, and it's nothing against the employees, because they're told to react and sell items. Oh, hey, tell them about this, tell them about this. It's just every time I seem to go into GameStop, I'm the only person in there, and it becomes like a conversation where I'm like, I just wanted to go in and come out, like, please, And of course, if there is an exclusive, like, hey, you want to pre-order a game? You want to pre-order this? I'm like, no, I usually just come in here for this type of stuff.
Yeah, it's, what all retail is missing is that it has to be offering an experience that's pleasurable, because you're asking a lot of people now, unfortunately, to get in their car and drive somewhere and interact with other humans. We've been showing not necessarily a better way, but a more convenient way with Amazon. And if it's not something you look forward to doing, I don't see how it's competitive, and how these things are going to stick around.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's exactly right. Even talking about Best Buy, Best Buy's gotten into the toy game now, more so than last year. I think they're trying to ramp it up for the holidays. But even then, they have a couple exclusives. They have the Mandalorian, the IG-11, which is the Black Series, and then you have the AT-ST Raider, which is for vintage collection. And a lot of people this week, including myself, I've been finding them in the store, but you can't buy them. They put them out incredibly early. However, it was kind of funny. I was holding IG-11 in my hands. The guy says, we can't sell it. It's not in our systems, which, all right, fine. I'm not going to go crazy. And it's like, okay. But the guy goes, oh, well, if you go online, you can order it. It'll ship it to you on the day of release for free. There's no extra shipping. It's basically just $21 out the door. And it's funny to me. I'm sitting there holding it. I could just buy it.
Yeah.
But no, I have to go ahead and order it. So it's awkward. It's odd. It's odd to even have to go into a Best Buy again, another one of those stores where you walk in and it's like, I think I compared it last week to Raptors in the Grass from Jurassic Park, where if you did the top-down view, everyone's just like, hey, no one else is in the store. What can I help you with? I'm like, well, I don't really want to make total public event out of my looking for a Mandalorian action figure, but can you help me out? And of course, it's like, no, we can't.
I didn't actually know that Best Buy sold anything. I thought it was only exclusively the old battery drop-off place.
Right?
That's all. I didn't actually realize they sell stuff. That's interesting. I'll have to check it out next time.
You would be amazed to know that they may actually sell things from time to time, but I have never physically seen it, at least in the last 15 years. So
I just assumed it was, their entire business is just taking our old batteries.
It's funny, with Toys R Us going out and the stores that have popped up to kind of take that void over. Best Buy, I never would have thought, and to have to now. Actually, I was joking around with people online saying, if you don't want to actually have to go in the store, you can just get it shipped to you for free. It's fantastic. It's a win-win for everybody.
It's interesting too that traditional retail has not figured out websites, right? GameStop is plagued with issues when you try to order something there. They have not really figured out looking something up if it's in the store. I can't tell you. I've never had a pleasant experience trying to determine if a UPC is in stock and available. It just strikes me as such an antiquated sort of corpse that's kind of shambling along. It's failed to kind of innovate and live up to what the consumer expects in a lot of ways.
Well, in even talking about that, I mean, I'm sure when I get the news, there's somebody nice enough, they write in, they say, hey, I found this figure. I try to say, okay, what if it's Walmart? What's the SKU? What's the give me the bottom number. Anything to help anyone find these things, because like you just said, it's a chore. I don't even like asking. Target is a little bit better, but with Walmart employees, you might as well be talking to a brick wall sometimes.
Part of the sort of consolidation into really just two big retailers, is that the days of the shopping experience being not necessarily tailored, but even just not unpleasant or slightly favorable to our hobby is long gone.
Yeah.
And part of that reason, which I understand the rationale for, is that toys are non-perishable. So staff and sort of resources are going to be focused on perishable items. And with the consolidation amongst Walmart and Target, that means that most of the toys that are being sold are also being sold in these stores that have perishable items. And none of these businesses are going to give priority to maintaining and making look neat or keeping the stock refreshed on something that doesn't spoil like a toy. They're going to focus those resources solely on, the peeled and shelled eggs in a bag with some water. Like that's literally
Yes.
where the focus is, as opposed to toys. And I don't see any profit motive that is going to change that for these places. I think eventually, probably in a year or two, we're going to get into a barter town like situation where you are squaring off in Mortal Kombat against a much larger man with a much smaller man on his shoulders in a sort of bungee cord chainsaw, fight. That's the best way I can describe the next year or two of retail in the toy aisle.
That would be, and like, how would you like? Tell me the story. What'd you have to do to get this Power Ranger figure? I had to kill a man.
You know what? Better experience than I've had today.
Yeah, exactly right.
Better retail experience.
So we got the again with the recent reveals, we got new Star Wars Black Series, and we got the Mandalorian. We got the Vintage Collection 3 3/4. We're gonna have the Mandalorian himself, and then Cara Dune, which might be right up your alley. Might be more in fitting with the 3/4-inch style. But the Black Series, we're gonna get some Knights of Ren. We get the hockey player-looking guy, and then Zora Bliss, which actually looks cool. It's a new character from Rise of Skywalker. Have you seen these?
This is Kerry Russell's character, Zora Bliss?
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I actually have successfully avoided watching any of the trailers for Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
Don't know. I think I saw the teaser that was out last year or whenever it was.
Like the clip show kind of thing before.
Yeah.
They had like very minute scenes.
I've successfully navigated around this, and I don't know that I'm going to watch any of the trailers. Of course, I'm going to go see it because I don't want to get put in the penalty pod by Bob Iger. I will be a good citizen. I will contribute to good cultural cohesion, and I do not want my points decreased on my citizen card.
Good. Okay.
I just want to make that abundantly clear. I'm not going to avoid my mandatory service of the Disney Army. But
Bob Iger is listening. He listens to this on a regular basis, so he's probably sitting there going, "Okay, Jesse's good. We're good.
Got him. We're good." I'm going to try to have a sort of media blackout about it. But that being said, I did buy. I don't know the name of it, but this sort of more stylized line that's slightly smaller with action features.
Yes, the Galaxy of Adventures, the more 5-inch style.
Yes. So I bought the Kylo Ren from that, and I bought the Finn figure, and I really like them. I think they're fun. If I was a kid, I'd really be into it. I think it's a very nice. It's sort of slightly cartoony, but slightly realistic, and I think that's a nice balance to strike with toys. And yeah. I'm into him, and I kind of like. I think Kylo Ren's a great character for whatever failings people may perceive for, the 2 sequel movies. I think he's still an interesting character, and I think he looks cool. I think he's kind of a worthy successor to Darth Vader in terms of like carrying the story and having a big bad or a conflicted villain. So, generally, I think I gravitate towards picking up one of, a Kylo Ren for every film that comes out.
Yeah, and I do agree with you in the sense, because I look at Kylo Ren, I got the newest Black Series, got his helmet stitched together. However he does it, maybe it's something that happens in the movie. But
I think that's literally what J.J. Abrams is doing with Star Wars.
Right?
He's literally like hot wielding it together for just one last go.
Yeah, it's just like stay together, baby. This thing is it's a rickety old. It's a great way to look at it. In terms of Kylo Ren, if you didn't tell me anything about him, and just in terms of his aesthetics and looking at the character, he looks great. He looks like a really cool bad guy. Again, in knowing about him, it kind of deflates it a bit. But if you have him on the shelf, you got him next to the Emperor and Darth Vader and things like that. It looks like a team of bad guys, can only fit in the Star Wars universe. So, and I've said this before, even though a movie is bad, or just not well received, a good toy line can always elevate it. And you can do what you want, at the end of the day on your shelf and be like, you know what? I don't care about anything about this guy. This is a cool looking bad guy on my shelf, and he can fight Rey and Luke Skywalker. You could do anything you want in that sense. But, and also talking about the Galaxy of Adventure figures, I got the Cal Kestis figure, and then I picked up the speeder for the Galaxy of Adventures, and Kestis fits on there really great. It looks good. But it's also a little bit power of the force in terms of it does have a breakaway. The speeder bike will explode. It'll send the stormtrooper launching and things. So
that's amazing. I might have to get one now. I do like a good exploding toy.
Yeah, it's stuff that you don't usually see anymore. And when I saw the packaging and I was like, oh, this does do the crash dummies, sort of deal. It's a lot of fun. And even, if you're not into the Galaxy Adventures, if you want a good speeder bike, something that's really different, it fits 6-inch figures. It's good all the way around, but I like the art style. I like the direction of where those are going. They're different. I like the Vader, especially with the red eyes. And yeah, it's definitely a line that I think may continue. You know what I mean? I've heard ups and downs. The Walmart exclusive Luke Skywalker, the Jedi Knight one, that's for Galaxy Adventures, not Black Series. I've had a couple friends, they picked him up, and they've had real big issues with him breaking and cracking already. So just something to kind of keep an eye out for if you do get that figure. But it maybe could be first batch problems, something like that.
Could be. I mean, with a lot of these sort of embargo dates and trying to make it within a theatrical release, a lot of stuff is, a lot of toy design is just about the ship date. There's no other externalities to consider. It is simply, what date does the container have to leave Hong Kong? That's it. That is the sort of zero-sum game for a lot of product. And I know I've been guilty of, having to play that game in the past.
Well, see, that's why I love having you on the show, because you really do give an extra point of view to a lot of situations where we would say, oh, they're cheap, they're broken, they're broken, and you saying that and just kind of give people a broader scope of what actually goes in designing a toy and shipping it on time and getting it out to mass retail. And
it's I always say that the fact that any toy makes it to toy shelves is a miracle, right? Because it is, in a lot of respects, it's a process of a million variables that can go wrong, and it never ends. This sort of stuff that can pop up, whether this past year in particular, with this sort of tariff Cold War that's been going on. Even the mere mention of tariffs affected prices adversely for toy makers big and small. But then you get into every single paint deco, every single joint, every single moving part. These are all individual problems that have to be sort of tested and debugged and tweaked, oftentimes several times over. And you're doing all this with sometimes two different language barriers going on, with people in Hong Kong speaking Cantonese and people in mainland China speaking Mandarin, and the two very different cultural sort of ways of conducting business that go along with that cultural divide. And then the fact that in order to make the best product, you, a Westerner, have to be over there to oversee what comes off of the assembly line and how the paint decos are working and everything else. So I always I tend to give toy makers, big and small, a lot of credit, and I don't really. I sort of expect wonky eye decos or sticky joints or little breakage issues. I expect that with all the toys I buy, because this is really, this is a game of a minefield. There's just, I look at, I'm looking at this, I have right in front of me, this Super 7 glow-in-the-dark RoboCop figure that I got at New York Comic Con. And there's so many things, even in a simplistic figure like this, that can go wrong, and it's just wonderful and it's well done. And I grade with a high curve for any product I see or get in hand.
I agree with you, and a lot of people have said in the past, like, I can't believe you like that toy, or I can't believe this, and I come at it at a different angle usually of thinking, this looks so cool on my shelf. I can't believe this is in my hand. It's from growing up with the 80s toys and going all this way to 2019, which was one of the best years for toys I think ever.
Yeah, easily.
The feats that have been tackled, and like we have some of the coolest stuff now sitting on our shelves, and sometimes they're really amazing and sometimes they're kind of but you can't discredit the fact of like, this got made somehow, some way, and I'm playing with it right now. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. I think like any hobby, things tend to drift towards the super serious, and it's always struck me as very odd with this particular hobby because we're dealing with things that are intrinsically fun and a sort of like reawakening of childhoodness, for lack of a word. So it's always very odd to me when people are really uptight or fixated on the problems and the things that go wrong with the toys that they buy, despite the fact that, like, for $20 you can get a pretty phenomenal, pretty innovative toy here in the States.
Yeah.
And, I always try. I have a little thought experiment I always do, in that I try to envision receiving this toy when I was 5 or 6 years old and how my brain would have exploded for any of these,
Exactly. That's a great, and I do that as well. It's something that you never used to have toys that looked like what the cartoon looked like or did and moved like you could do now. And everything, every major company you could think of has just been killing it in terms of taking either old or new, especially with the older ones, and bringing them back to life and going, oh my God, yeah. If I was 5 or 6 years old, I would have lost my mind,
Yeah, I mean, I think back to like when DC Direct started doing action figures, right? So here was, for the first time, a lot of characters that were never done in a toy form. And what you would get with DC Direct was, maybe the scales didn't match. Some were articulated, some weren't. Some, they were sort of wildly varying quality and approach to a lot of different figures. But they were still, for the first time, opening up this huge library of characters that had never been sort of executed in this form.
Yeah.
And, if you think of like those early DC Direct figures like Swamp Thing and Preacher and Sandman, and now flash forward to where we are now, it's like pretty much every single 6-inch figure is hyper articulated, works pretty damn well comparatively. Eye deco and face deco, especially with this kind of real scan technology and the updated tampo prints, looks uncanny. Paint apps have come a super long way to where Hasbro, which is a major toy company, is focusing on paint apps the same way somebody like Hot Toys does. The bar has been raised by every measurable metric to provide something like a Black Series figure or a Legacy Collection Power Ranger figure at a quality that is so much better, heads and shoulders above not only what we were sort of doing during this initial collector boom in 6 and 7 inch, but also is a mass market product that is competitive with $75 to $100 figures that would be available in Japan. It's astounding.
Exactly, yeah. And in talking about that, even with now, are you a Marvel Legends collector?
I dabble a little bit. So it's kind of ancient history, but I was roommates with Jesse Falcon for a little while. He took me in off the streets when I moved to New York. And
he's a great guy.
Yeah, he really, like, a lot of what is going on in front of me on this table, a lot of Black Series, a lot of the Legacy Collection, a lot of, the standard of current 6 and 7 inch action figures is because of Jesse Falcon. And he being really patient zero for lobbying for hyperarticulation and better paint apps, and his formula is what's used by all these people. So I do like to, I guess, like spiritually, I felt there was a schism when Toy Biz lost Marvel Legends, and I think that Hasbro has come a very long way, and these modern Marvel Legends figures are really fantastic. But part of me, without it being at Toy Biz and without it being at Jesse Falcon under his care, it just doesn't. I don't know. It rings a little hollow to me.
Yeah, no, and I understand, and with the recent reveals, we found out the new Build-A-Figure for the upcoming, end of this year, maybe sort of end of 2019 into 2020, we're going to get a Demogoblin figure. That was originally slated to be a single figure. Now it's a Build-A-Figure.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit biased because I absolutely love Maximum Carnage, the old storyline.
Sure.
And I'm a big fan of Demogoblin. So I know a lot of people are saying, well, if it was a single figure, it shouldn't be the Build-A-Figure anymore. And I agree and I disagree because I just want the figure. Regardless, I'm going to get every figure in the line anyways.
It is a free figure.
Yeah, exactly. And you do have to think about that because a lot of times I think people think like, I wanted that as a single. But the Build-A-Figure program is all about you buy the whole set. It's your incentive to buy the set so you get that figure. Yes, it's not fun sometimes when it's that one figure you absolutely wanted. You want to spend all that money, and I totally understand that. But that's just the way that they're doing the biz, and especially with.
I am shocked because if you sort of had a couple $1 million to start a mass market toy company today. Mm-hmm. Build-A-Figure would be nowhere in your business plan because it doesn't make any sense. It is likely a lost leader. It's just it's a gimmick that they use to sell full cases. But if you were sort of building from scratch, you would never, ever account for that. You would never have that as part of it. This is a bonus that will eventually go away.
Yeah.
It's not a sustainable sort of thing that shows a return. So people are welcome to complain about it or, hem and haw, but I see that as a feature that, its days are not long. And pretty soon people will shift complaining about, the Goblin figure to complaining that, oh, now there is no Build-A-Figure. What the hell?
Yeah. And I think you're absolutely right. I would say that even with, we're talking about tariffs, the price we're being informed now, not necessarily in Marvel Legends just yet, but Black Series and Power Rangers are going to be going up to $21.50 coming for the next waves of figures and such, which is reflective on Amazon and then probably going to head into Target, Walmart, major retail.
Let me make a Nostradamus-like prediction for your audience. And you can keep replaying this every year. Prices are only going up. They're not going down. There is under no circumstances will these things ever go down. So this has been the case since I started in the industry almost 2 decades ago. Prices will continue to go up on these figures. I mean, it was not that long ago that, NECA never wanted to break. They had a ceiling of like $10, right? And that's been broken. These things just. This is the nature of things. We're never going to see like a $5 dip in Black Series.
Yeah. No, and I would say that the price is warranted as long as they keep it going. And what Hasbro has actually done with the face printing tech, looking at a Rey figure from when The Force Awakens first popped up and then seeing this brand new Rey, it's night and day. I mean, the face printing tech is the future. It looks amazing. And to be quite honest, it does start to warrant that little bit of a price increase. And like you said, overseas toys, import toys, they're 70, 80, 110 all the way up, to get the $20 figure, now $21.50 coming soon.
Yeah.
It is the nature of collectibles. I'm sure you remember I've been going to Toys R Us, getting, Marvel Legends, even Toy Biz, Spider-Man, the animated series. They used to be $5.99. Then they were $6.99.
Yep.
Marvel Legends, you get the whole Apocalypse Build-A-Figure wave back in the day for around $56. I think that's what I remember going to Toys R Us. I went there in the morning. The guy goes, "Oh, you're lucky. You kind of beat the scalpers coming in." And I'm like, "Oh, well, cool."
Yeah.
But and I remember $56 when you're like 13, 14, 15-year-old kid.
Kind of hard to swing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I ended up selling them to take a girl out on a date. What was I thinking? My God. Well, what a fool. It is sadly what it is. But to be, on the upside again, is that we're getting a brand new Fantastic Four wave for Marvel Legends. Yes, it reuses some of the Walgreens figures, but the Build-A-Figure is going to be the Super Skrull. Again, much like Demogoblin, was originally a Walgreens, well, supposedly, we'll just say, take with a grain of salt, but a single-release Walgreens figure. Didn't pan out, so they managed to stick them into the line. And again, I like Fantastic Four. I'm not totally stoked on kind of rebuying them in semi-new modern costumes. I'm a big classic Fantastic Four fan.
Sure.
But again, to get the Build-A-Figure, you just got to get them. It's either you do or you don't.
It's a good time for FF also because just yesterday, Tom Scioli's Grand Design, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but his Grand Design book came out. And Tom sort of came on the scene with Transformers versus G.I. Joe, and I felt like Tom is really one of the only people that gets what works and what doesn't work in a modern context about these properties that we hold in such high esteem. And spoiler alert, a lot of it doesn't work, right? And what Tom is sort of able to do is he sort of synthesizes a kid in a sandbox bashing two action figures together. I think I'm paraphrasing that quote from somebody else, but his stuff is so colorful and chaotic and nonsensical and really amazing. Like all of this, the work he's put out is pretty tremendous, and it operates on that frequency. It's really like old school childhood fun, and I highly recommend it.
I will definitely check that out. That's why I always like to hear about the latest and greatest stuff even I miss. But just in terms of like what you said, with two kids mashing together, action figures on a playground, playing together, something like that. A couple weeks back they did the Force Friday unveils. They had the Mandalorian, they had the director Jon Favreau, and then you also had the Clone Wars director Dave Filoni, and they're talking on this, and they're talking about the Mandalorian, and they made this emphasis to think back on when they were collecting 3 3/4 inch Star Wars, old school Star Wars, and seeing and wanting to see those types of things on the screen, and then having seen the new Mandalorian trailer. I know you're trying to avoid spoilers, I think, on all counts of Star Wars. But and of course, not to give anything away, but when you see what happens in this trailer, it's fully realized. It's like, yes, this is what I want to see from Star Wars. I have those figures. When I get a Mandalorian finally, I can put him on a dewback, or I can do that. It's awesome. So it's again harkening back to the old guard being gone, people being in charge that actually love and appreciate these properties, and you're starting to see it.
Yeah, it's the era of the fan is now the professional working class. So it's led to some good stuff.
Oh, most definitely. And it can be seen in a lot of what NECA is doing. They unveiled the final packaging art for their Conjuring 2, the Crooked Man figure that they originally showed off at this year's New York Toy Fair. You can expect him around the end of November, probably more towards December into Christmas. You're going to get a lot of extra head portraits with this guy, a crooked umbrella hands. He looks menacing. He looks great. Really quick kind of in and out from that particular movie, but nonetheless, still pretty good. Also with NECA, we got to see the Chapter 2 Pennywise figure. Again, some extra heads, hands. It looks great. They really went to town. This is not a reuse of what they've done before with the It figure. It's based on the new movie, so a new body mold and such. That looks pretty cool. I really like the Bill Skarsgård head where he's all tearing the flesh and the paint away from his face. I think that looks excellent. In terms of McFarlane Toys Fortnite figures, they had some more go up on Amazon. and I'll have links for everything that we've really discussed as applicable, that they will be in the links in the description below. But they have the new hybrid stage 3 figure that's being released. It's like a lizard man, basically, so definitely check that out, especially for maybe the Jurassic Park collector, or even if you got some Spider-Man, you want to turn your characters into lizard men with the lizards, something like that. So lot of great stuff happening with Fortnite in particular. Mezco Toys unveiled their new previews exclusive. This is the Playing for Keeps, quote-unquote, edition Harley Quinn. She's kind of got like a tank girl thing going on. You can go ahead and still pre-order her. It's $90. You go to your local comic book store. It's not on the actual Mezco site, but you can get her through the previews website, through comic book shops, local shops. Go ahead and ask your comic guy to order it up for you. And then, of course, I did a Who in the Holy Heck video on the Spy Master, which, again, I'll have a links in the description below. I also did a video on all of the new Marvel Legends reveals from this past weekend's Lucca Comic-Con and Manga Barcelona, so definitely check that out. A lot of great stuff. It's a non-stop news, and it's all great, and that's where you go with your wallet. You go, God, what are you doing to me here? But again, NECA Toys unveiled a brand new property just before Halloween. They're going to be doing figures based on Creepshow, the brand new show relaunch on Shudder Network, so definitely check that out. This figure looks fantastic. It's a must for any horror lover, Creepshow lover, anything like that. But it's like, it's this creepy looking emaciated corpse. And then, of course, he's reading the Creepshow comic book. If you've ever seen the show or any of the movies from back in the day, you definitely know how that kind of ties in. Mondo News, they pulled this out of nowhere, which was actually really cool. They have a brand new 1/6 scale Scareglow figure for their Masters of the Universe figures. He will be shipping in January 2020. As of this recording, he is available. You might want to check it out. So go to mondotees.com. And then you can double check and see if he's still available. But yeah, they had a little bit of issue. He went up and then it quickly sold out. It was just a glitch on their computer. So he looks absolutely astounding. It's really something quite awesome. This was actually my favorite thing to come out of Halloween. Winner, hands down, best costume. Little kid, Twitter user Mark Warash filmed his kid. It really hit home with a lot of people. A lot of people love this video. It's mimicking the Venom movie where Venom kind of unveils himself to Eddie Brock in that film, and you just have to watch it. I will say, the little kid absolutely nails it home. Again, NECA Toys really took it home, especially with, of course, Terminator Dark Fate being unveiled to 50-50 response. A lot of people are like, oh, cool, it's a cool popcorn movie, and a lot of people saying, not so much. I have yet to see it myself, so definitely looking forward to seeing it. Fingers crossed it's good, but I have heard certain things. But yeah, NECA Toys will be doing toys based off the movie. You got the T-800, you got the Arnold Schwarzenegger head. It's always cool to see a new Arnold Schwarzenegger just body, they can do no wrong at NECA, man. They're killing it. They got all the Predator, then you got Terminator. Arnold Schwarzenegger, man, he must get a nice little paycheck from NECA every month. But yeah, look for these starting to hit next month, around maybe more towards Thanksgiving and into December. And then you also have the Sarah Connor figure from her role in this new movie as well. You get a nice Linda Hamilton figure for your shelf. I think that looks great. J&L Toys, my guest last week, he was one of the first people. He found the brand new Black Series C-3PO and Babu Frick, or however you want to say that, at his Torrance, California Target store. And like previous reports, of course, it was street dated for the 10th of November. So a lot of those figures, yeah, you're not going to be able to get them just yet if they're on the shelves. Target's been doing that a whole lot lately. Yeah, you're going to have to do that. McDonald's, I will be having a special look later in this week at their upcoming November 7th through the 11th. They're putting all the old best of Happy Meal toys back in the old boxes, and you can score those if you want to go ahead and look at them. They got, McNuggets, Furbies, Power Rangers, Beanie Babies, Tamagotchis, which is actually cool. The Burger Transformers. Really, really cool. 17 in total. But yeah, again, really, really limited edition. November 7th through the 11th, though. Definitely check those out. Shout outs to Tometo0861 on Instagram. Gave me the heads up. The upcoming Masters of the Universe WWE mashup sort of deal. Mattel Grayskull ring was available. This is the set with the ring just itself, not the one with the two figures. It's up on Walmart.com. I can put the link in the description below. I ordered one. Hopefully, might be having it in hand. It's kind of said, yeah, it should be coming, but it got pushed back a day, so just kind of have to wait on that. And the CRACKSHOT figure from the Jazwares 6-inch figures, also on Walmart.com, if you want to go ahead and check that out. Shout out and a thank you again to Johnny_number_Cinco for the heads up on that guy. If you're at Ross stores this week, shout out to Luna_1997. They came across the Captain Phasma Quicksilver baton that was a Disney Store exclusive. They probably made a ton of those and didn't sell a ton of those, but if you check out your Ross, you might be able to find those as well. I found some of those Kid Robot Mad Balls that are starting to hit for Wave 2. Pennywise, Pinhead, Chucky. Didn't ring up in the system just yet. They might have been out a little bit early, but $12. So that really just kind of wraps it up.
It's been a fantastic month of October. I think a lot of truly horrifying figures are coming out. You got NECA stuff. Kind of took a look at the Marvel Zombies again, and it's just, there's so much fun during the holidays when it comes to toys, and it's just been an absolute pleasure talking with you about each and everything and to kind of get that little inside scoop with things regarding toys and how they're made and talking about Action Figure of the Month Club. Just want to say thank you, sir, for coming on today.
My pleasure.
I hope not to get too nerdy on you. You know what I mean?
Oh, this is great. I usually just talking to myself, so this is it's good for a change.
Right? Yes, that's what I was doing for a couple weeks there. I was like, you know what? It's probably good to have someone to banter back and forth with. That way I'm not a total crazy person sitting in my office and talking about toys. So
Exactly.
One thing I will say, let's just say this, you can say for the month of October leading into November, what is the number one figure people need to have? Hands down, it's your favorite thing on the shelf right now.
I think it's the glow-in-the-dark Shakan. I know that's self-serving, but it is spooky. It is, seasonally appropriate, and I love dark figures. So that's my pick.
Yes, that's another thing. We don't have enough glow-in-the-dark figures. All right. Well, sir, I appreciate you coming on. Where can everyone find you so they can get in touch with you or see your Instagram or all that social media jargon?
I'm not so active on Instagram anymore. You can find me on patreon.com/Jesse Destasio, or you can check out our store at either toypizza.com or knightsoftheslice.com. They both redirect you to it.
Perfect. Love Toy Pizza. I'll have all the links in the description below. Go watch all their old episodes on YouTube as well, and stay tuned for new episodes probably in the near future. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. As always, drink some great coffee, eat some great food, but most importantly, remember, get ready for the holidays, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas is coming up. Just get ready for them clearance sales to save some cash. And when you do, let me know what you found. I'll talk to you guys soon. Adios.
Pizza out.
I like that.